In this fleeting world where turbulence and chaos often cloud our minds, the pursuit of inner peace is a noble endeavor. We, as Stoics, understand that peace does not come from external circumstances but from the mastery of our own thoughts, actions, and responses. It is not an easy task, for the world around us is ever-changing, ever-demanding, yet we possess within us the ability to remain steadfast, unmoved by the storms of life. The true test of character lies not in the absence of challenges, but in our ability to face them with composure, wisdom, and virtue. In these lessons, we shall explore the timeless principles that lead us toward a life of tranquility and strength. By embracing the power of rational thought, mastering the art of detachment, and cultivating resilience in the face of adversity, we can achieve the inner peace that eludes so many. Through discipline, reflection, and the relentless pursuit of virtue, we learn to silence the noise of the world and hear the stillness within. Let us embark on this path, for in mastering our inner world, we find freedom. Freedom from worry, from anger, from fear, and from the shackles that bind our souls. This, my fellow Stoics, is the true essence of peace. 1. The foundation of inner peace. The foundation of inner peace begins not with external circumstances, but with the very essence of our being, the way we perceive and respond to the world. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that peace arises from within, from the cultivation of an unshakable mind that remains resolute, regardless of what life throws at it. This inner peace is not a passive state, it is an active discipline, a choice we make every moment of every day. It is not given freely, nor does it come easily. It is the result of a deliberate effort to train our minds, to master our desires, and to accept the things we cannot change with grace. In the world of the Stoic, peace is rooted in the understanding that there are two realms, the things within our control and the things beyond it. To begin with, we must first recognize that much of what we often perceive as troubling or disturbing is not truly within our grasp to control. We cannot command the world to behave as we wish. We cannot control the actions of others, the events that unfold in our lives, or the changing of seasons. What we can control, however, is how we respond to these external forces. This simple truth is the bedrock upon which inner peace is built. To grasp this deeply is to free oneself from the turmoil of constant desire and fear. When we recognize that it is not the world that disturbs us but our judgments about the world, we begin to see that we have the power to choose peace, regardless of the circumstances. The things that happen to us are not inherently good or bad, they simply are. It is our interpretation of these events that determines our emotional state. If we look upon misfortune with the lens of a Stoic, we see opportunity for growth, for resilience, for fortitude. A challenge becomes a stepping stone, not an obstacle. Suffering, though difficult, becomes a teacher rather than a tormentor. Consider the wise words of Epictetus, who taught that men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. This statement, simple in its truth, reveals the power we hold within ourselves. The foundation of inner peace lies in the ability to change our views, to strip away the false beliefs that we hold about what is good and what is bad. Once we shed these erroneous judgments, we find that we are no longer slaves to our desires or our fears. Our peace becomes unshakable because it is not based on fleeting pleasures or external validation, but on an unwavering commitment to virtue, to wisdom, and to accepting life as it is, not as we wish it to be. This does not mean that we become indifferent or apathetic to the world around us. On the contrary, Stoicism teaches us to engage with the world, but with clarity and understanding. We act not out of passion or impulse, but from reason, knowing that our actions must align with virtue, and that our actions, though they may influence the world, cannot determine the outcome. The true Stoic is not one who is untouched by the challenges of life, but one who faces them with equanimity, accepting whatever comes as part of the natural order, as something to learn from rather than something to fight against. The foundation of inner peace is built upon the mastery of our mind. The mind is where all disturbances begin and where peace must first be cultivated. A turbulent mind cannot experience peace, for it is constantly stirred by the winds of external events, desires, and irrational thoughts. It is only when we learn to quiet the mind, to detach from the constant chatter of our emotions and impulses, that we begin to touch upon true tranquility. The Stoic seeks to maintain a steady mind unperturbed by the shifting winds of fortune. We are not immune to pain or hardship, but we learn to endure with grace, to accept without bitterness, and to find meaning in every experience. In this journey, we must also recognize the role of virtue in fostering inner peace. A life lived in accordance with virtue, courage, justice, wisdom, and temperance creates harmony within the soul. These virtues are the pillars upon which true peace rests. It is through the cultivation of these qualities that we find our minds and hearts aligned with nature, and it is through this alignment that we experience a peace that is not dependent on the external world. Virtue is the path to true peace because it connects us with our highest selves, with the rational nature that we share with the cosmos. To live virtuously is to live in accordance with reason. Reason is the guiding force that directs us toward peace. It is through reason that we come to understand what is truly important and what is not. It is through reason that we let go of our attachments to the material world, to the fleeting pleasures that promise happiness but deliver only temporary satisfaction. Reason teaches us that the only true good is virtue and the only true evil is vice. When we align our lives with this understanding, we find that external circumstances lose their power over us. We become masters of our own peace because we know that nothing external can shake our commitment to live a virtuous life. Thus, the foundation of inner peace is laid with the understanding that we control our responses, that we can change our perspectives, and that we can cultivate virtue. It is in this process of self-mastery that true peace is found. The external world will always present challenges, but the Stoic is unwavering in their commitment to remain steady, calm, and resolute in the face of adversity. The storms of life may rage around us, but within there is a calm, a peace that cannot be disturbed. This is the peace that is built on the solid foundation of Stoic wisdom, a peace that grows stronger with every trial, with every obstacle, with every moment of mindful acceptance. In your pursuit of inner peace, remember this: you are not at the mercy of the world. You are at the helm of your own mind. It is within your power to choose peace, to cultivate it, and to make it the foundation of your life. Stand firm in this truth, and you will find that no matter what life brings, you will be at peace. 2. Understanding control and acceptance. At the core of Stoic wisdom lies a profound and liberating truth. There are only two realms in life: what is within our control and what is beyond it. The path to inner peace begins with the recognition of this fundamental distinction. To achieve peace of mind, we must first learn to clearly identify what we can change and what we must accept. Only by mastering this principle can we hope to live free from the constant turmoil that comes from attempting to control the uncontrollable. This is the essence of Stoic practice and the key to living a life of serenity and virtue. Let us begin with the things that lie within our control. The Stoics teach that there are few things that we truly command. In fact, when we examine life closely, we see that the only true dominion we have is over our own thoughts, actions, and judgments. We cannot control the actions of others, nor the course of nature, nor the events that unfold in the world around us. But we can control how we react to these things. We have the ability to choose how we respond to the challenges we face, to the people we encounter, and to the circumstances that arise. Our judgments, our interpretations of events, and the way we approach adversity are all within our control. If we encounter hardship, we can choose to see it as an opportunity for growth rather than a punishment. If we face conflict, we can choose to respond with patience and wisdom rather than anger and resentment. The Stoics understood that by focusing on these aspects of life, on how we think, how we act, and how we judge, we can maintain peace in the face of even the most difficult circumstances. Take, for instance, the idea of personal responsibility. We cannot control the behavior of others, but we can choose to act virtuously ourselves. In the face of someone else's anger, we can choose not to mirror that anger, but instead to respond with calm and understanding. In a world full of distractions, we can choose to cultivate focus and discipline. In moments of fear, we can choose courage. These choices are ours alone to make. They are the province of our inner world, and they shape the experiences we have. The more we train ourselves to make virtuous choices, the more we align ourselves with the nature of the cosmos, which is governed by reason and order. Now we turn our attention to the things that are beyond our control. These are the things that cause much of the anxiety and distress we experience in life. We cannot control the weather, the decisions of others, the outcome of our efforts, or the passage of time. No matter how hard we try, we cannot change these external forces, and yet we often find ourselves consumed by a desire to manipulate them. We worry about things we cannot change, we resist the inevitable, and we become frustrated when life does not unfold according to our desires. This is where the art of acceptance becomes essential. Acceptance does not mean resignation or passivity. It does not mean that we should simply tolerate suffering or injustice. Rather, it means that we acknowledge the limits of our control and choose to respond with wisdom and grace. When we accept what is beyond our control, we free ourselves from the burden of unnecessary suffering. We no longer waste energy fighting against the current of life, but instead we learn to flow with it. This principle of acceptance is not about surrendering to life's challenges with a sense of defeat. It is about acknowledging the nature of the world, understanding the limitations of our power, and finding peace in knowing that we do not have to control everything. When we accept what is beyond our control, we let go of frustration, anger, and despair. We recognize that there is much in life that is simply beyond us, and that trying to control these things is not only futile but counterproductive. Consider the wisdom of Epictetus, who reminds us some things are up to us and some things are not. If we can focus on what is within our power, our thoughts, our actions, our responses, then we are free from the tyranny of things beyond our control. By accepting the things that lie beyond us, we find peace because we no longer waste precious energy attempting to change what cannot be changed. This, in turn, allows us to channel our energy into the areas where we can make a difference, and it gives us the clarity of mind to act with purpose and wisdom. The practice of understanding control and acceptance is not something that happens overnight. It requires constant self-awareness, constant practice, and a commitment to discipline. Every moment is an opportunity to practice this Stoic principle. When faced with a difficult situation, ask yourself, what part of this situation is within my control, and what part is beyond it? By doing so, you train your mind to focus only on what is necessary and productive, freeing yourself from the distractions and frustrations of the uncontrollable. Take, for example, the experience of loss. When we lose someone we love, it is natural to feel sorrow and grief. But in this moment of suffering, the Stoic asks, what is within my control here? The answer is not to change the fact of the loss, this is beyond us, but to choose how we respond to it. We can choose to grieve with dignity, to honor the memory of the person, and to live with gratitude for the time we shared. We can choose to find meaning in the experience and to grow from it. This is the essence of Stoic acceptance. It is not about denying pain or avoiding sorrow, but about recognizing that we have the power to shape our responses, no matter the circumstances. This is also true in the face of conflict. When we are wronged by others, we may feel the urge to retaliate, to seek revenge, or to harbor resentment. But the Stoic understands that the actions of others are beyond their control. What is within our control, however, is our response. We can choose to respond with understanding, with patience, and with forgiveness. In doing so, we free ourselves from the corrosive effects of anger and bitterness, and we maintain our inner peace. In embracing control and acceptance, we achieve a profound freedom. the freedom to live with peace, regardless of what happens around us. The freedom to act with wisdom and virtue, regardless of external outcomes. The freedom to choose our responses, knowing that we cannot control everything, but that we always have the power to control how we engage with the world. Thus, the second lesson in mastering inner peace is to deeply understand the distinction between what is within our control and what is not. By focusing on our thoughts, actions, and judgments, and by accepting the things that lie beyond us, we free ourselves from the turmoil of life. In doing so, we cultivate the peace of mind that the Stoics so dearly valued, an unshakable peace that cannot be disturbed by the world's chaos, a peace that comes from within. 3. Embracing the present moment. In the pursuit of inner peace, there is no greater obstacle than the mind's tendency to dwell on the past or obsess over the future. Both of these mental distractions draw us away from the only time that truly exists, the present moment. The Stoic philosophy, in its wisdom, teaches us that true peace is found not in what has already happened or what may happen, but in the here and now. To live in the present moment is to embrace life fully, without regret for what has passed or anxiety for what lies ahead. It is to experience the richness of each moment as it comes, with clarity and purpose. The past is an illusion. It is gone, and it cannot be changed. No amount of regret or sorrow can alter what has already transpired. And yet, many of us spend much of our lives anchored in the past, reliving old mistakes, rehashing old wounds, or longing for times that are no more. In doing so, we drain the vitality from the present. We rob ourselves of the peace that could be ours, should we choose to let go of the past and focus on what is before us. The Stoic recognizes that the past is a lesson, not a place to dwell. We learn from it, we grow from it, but we do not live in it. Similarly, the future is a shadow. It has not yet arrived, and so it is beyond our control. Many spend their days consumed with anxiety, worry, and fear about what may come. They imagine the worst-case scenarios, dwell on what might go wrong, and prepare for calamities that may never occur. In doing so, they waste precious energy and rob themselves of peace. The Stoic understands that the future is uncertain, and that worry about it is not only futile but counterproductive. We cannot control what is to come, but we can control how we prepare for it. We can live today with virtue, doing what is right, just and wise, and trust that we will have the strength and clarity to face whatever challenges the future may bring. The true power lies in the present moment. It is in this moment that we have the ability to act, to think, to choose. The present is where life unfolds, where growth happens, and where we find the opportunity to practice virtue. The Stoic asks us to focus all of our attention on the here and now, to immerse ourselves fully in each task, conversation, and experience. By doing so, we not only find peace, but we also find purpose. The present moment is the only time in which we can truly live. When we understand this, we stop chasing after elusive futures or mourning past mistakes. We come to realize that the present is enough, that in this moment we are all that we need to be. Epictetus, in his wisdom, taught that if you wish to be rich, do not add to your money, but subtract from your desire. This truth applies not only to material wealth, but to all aspects of life. We are often burdened by desires for things that are either in the past or the future. We long for experiences that are behind us, or we strive for outcomes that may never come. Yet in this striving, we lose sight of what we already have. We fail to see the beauty in the present, the richness of this moment as it is. The Stoic teaches us to release our attachment to both the past and the future, to see them for what they are, passing moments that cannot be controlled, and to focus all of our energy on living fully now. To embrace the present moment is to practice mindfulness, to be fully engaged with whatever is before us. Whether it is a simple task like eating, working, or walking, or a more profound experience like conversation, contemplation, or reflection, we must give it our full attention. When we live in this way, we experience life more deeply. We become more attuned to the beauty of the world around us, the lessons it offers, and the opportunities for growth that arise in each moment. The present moment, when fully embraced, is an endless source of wisdom, peace, and fulfillment. In the same vein, when we focus on the present, we stop allowing ourselves to be overwhelmed by tasks that have not yet been completed or problems that have not yet emerged. We stop living in a state of constant mental clutter where our thoughts are scattered between things we have already done and things we think we must do. Instead, we learn to focus on what is at hand, to do each thing with excellence, and to leave the rest for another time. The Stoic understands that if we give our full attention to the present moment, we will accomplish more with greater clarity and purpose, and in doing so we will find peace in the process rather than in some distant outcome. When we live in the present, we also accept that the future will unfold as it will, according to the natural course of events. We cannot force it to take a certain shape, nor should we be troubled by its uncertainty. Instead, we take action today in the best way we know how and trust that our efforts, grounded in virtue, will yield the best possible results, whatever the future may bring. The Stoic is not paralyzed by the unknown, rather they embrace it with courage, knowing that what matters most is how we live in this moment with integrity, focus, and wisdom. The Stoics also remind us that life itself is brief. Time is fleeting, and every moment we spend in regret or anxiety is a moment wasted. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflects often on the transience of life, urging us to waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. B1. The essence of Stoic practice is to live with intentionality and to focus on being the best version of ourselves right now. The present moment is our opportunity to act with virtue, to practice patience, courage, and wisdom, and to embody the Stoic principles that lead to peace. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. All we have is the present, and in it we have everything we need. To live in the present is to accept that life is impermanent, that all things pass, and that the only thing that truly belongs to us is this moment. The more we embrace the present, the more we come to understand that peace is not something that is found in a future or a past time, but in the here and now. In focusing on the present, we discover that it is enough. It is enough to live with virtue, to act with wisdom, and to appreciate the life we have before us, for it is in the present moment that true peace resides. 4. The power of acceptance and resilience. One of the most profound truths that Stoic philosophy offers us is the idea that acceptance is not merely an act of passive submission, but a powerful force of inner strength. Acceptance, when understood in the context of Stoicism, is a proactive decision to embrace reality as it is, to align ourselves with the natural course of events, and to endure life's challenges with resilience and courage. This concept is at the heart of mastering inner peace, for it allows us to meet adversity with grace, to endure suffering without being overwhelmed, and to cultivate an unshakable sense of serenity, regardless of what happens around us. The Stoics remind us that life is filled with hardships, setbacks, and unforeseen challenges. These are not anomalies, nor are they punishments. They are an inherent part of the human experience, part of the natural order of things. As Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This reflects a core Stoic belief: obstacles are not roadblocks but opportunities for growth. Every difficulty we encounter is a chance to practice virtue, to strengthen our character, and to deepen our resilience. It is easy to look at life's challenges as burdens or as things that are unfair. When we are faced with illness, loss, or hardship, our initial reaction might be to resist, to complain, or to feel victimized by fate. However, the Stoic response is different. Rather than resisting what we cannot change, we accept it. We embrace it, not as a punishment, but as part of the journey, as a way to hone our virtues and grow stronger in the face of adversity. We cannot always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to it. This is the essence of resilience. Resilience, in Stoic terms, is not about suppressing emotions or pretending that pain does not exist. It is about acknowledging suffering when it arises and choosing to endure it with dignity and courage. It is about remembering that hardship is not permanent and that our response to it is what truly defines us. When we face difficulties with acceptance and resilience, we do not allow them to defeat us. Instead, we rise to meet them, armed with the knowledge that we are capable of enduring whatever life throws our way. This practice of acceptance does not mean that we should become indifferent or detached from the world. On the contrary, Stoicism encourages us to engage fully with life, but with the wisdom to accept that there are things beyond our control. By accepting these things, we free ourselves from frustration, anxiety, and helplessness. We learn to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our responses, while letting go of the need to control everything else. The acceptance that the Stoics teach is not one of passive resignation, but of active engagement. It is the acceptance of reality, of what is, rather than what we wish it to be. When we accept the present moment as it is, without resistance, we can face any difficulty with clarity, calm, and fortitude. We come to understand that nothing is inherently good or bad, only our judgments about these things give them meaning. What may seem like an obstacle is, in fact, an opportunity to practice virtue. Consider the words of Epictetus, who taught that it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. This powerful insight reminds us that our suffering often stems not from the events themselves, but from our thoughts and judgments about those events. When we are able to change our perspective and accept things as they are, we free ourselves from the mental prison that suffering creates. We stop being victims of circumstances and become active participants in our own peace. The Stoic practice of acceptance also teaches us the importance of living in accordance with nature. Nature, in the Stoic sense, refers not only to the external world, but also to our own nature as rational beings. To live in accordance with nature is to recognize that we are part of a greater whole, and that the events of the world unfold according to a divine plan. We may not always understand this plan, but we can trust that everything that happens is in accordance with nature's laws, and that our role is to accept what comes with wisdom and grace. When we live in harmony with this understanding, we become more resilient in the face of life's difficulties. Another aspect of acceptance is the idea of impermanence. Everything in life is fleeting: joy and sorrow, success and failure, life itself. The Stoics remind us that all things are temporary, and that this impermanence is what gives life its meaning. We do not cling to moments of joy, because we know that they will pass, just as we do not wallow in moments of sorrow, because they too will pass. This understanding allows us to experience life more fully, without the fear of loss or change. When we accept the impermanence of life, we are able to savor the present moment without attachment, knowing that each moment is precious because it will not last forever. To cultivate acceptance and resilience, we must practice mindfulness and self-awareness. In the face of adversity, take a moment to pause and reflect: what is within my control and what is beyond it? How can I respond with virtue in this situation? By regularly practicing this kind of mental discipline, we strengthen our capacity for resilience. We learn to respond to difficulties with patience, courage, and wisdom. We also learn to cultivate gratitude, recognizing that even in the midst of hardship, there are lessons to be learned, strengths to be discovered, and opportunities for growth. In moments of difficulty, remind yourself that this is not the end. This is simply another moment in the flow of life, another challenge to overcome, another opportunity to practice virtue. Embrace it with acceptance and resilience, knowing that you have the strength within you to endure. Remember, it is not the difficulty itself that defines you, but your response to it. The Stoic is not someone who avoids hardship, but someone who faces it with unshakable resolve, knowing that every obstacle is an opportunity for growth and self-improvement. Through acceptance and resilience, we develop an inner peace that cannot be disturbed by external circumstances. No matter what happens in the world, no matter how difficult the road may seem, we remain grounded in the knowledge that we have the power to control how we respond. This is the true power of Stoic practice, the power to face life with equanimity, to accept whatever comes with wisdom, and to endure with grace. Through acceptance we find peace, and through resilience we become stronger. 5. The pursuit of virtue over external goods. In the quest for inner peace, one of the greatest lessons that Stoic philosophy imparts is the understanding that virtue, not external possessions or circumstances, is the true source of happiness and fulfillment. The world around us may offer fleeting pleasures, material wealth, and recognition, but none of these things have the power to provide lasting peace. True contentment lies not in what we acquire or achieve, but in the cultivation of virtue, the qualities of character that allow us to live in harmony with nature and with our own principles. The Stoic teaches us that virtue is the only true good. Virtue is not merely about doing good deeds, but about embodying the qualities that enable us to act rightly, consistently, and in accordance with reason. It is about cultivating wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance in all aspects of life. These virtues are not external, nor can they be taken from us. They reside within, and it is through the pursuit of these virtues that we find our highest purpose and, ultimately, our deepest peace. In contrast, external goods such as wealth, fame, pleasure, or power are not within our control. They come and go, and they are often the result of circumstances that are beyond our influence. We cannot control whether we are born into wealth, whether we gain the admiration of others, or whether our desires are satisfied. These things are fragile, transient, and fleeting. In fact, to place our happiness in these external goods is to set ourselves up for disappointment, for they are impermanent by their very nature. As the Stoics remind us, the pursuit of external goods is a pursuit of illusion. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This powerful statement encapsulates the Stoic perspective on material wealth. To the Stoic, the accumulation of possessions or status is not inherently bad, but it is not the source of true happiness. True wealth lies not in what we have, but in our ability to be content with what we need and to find fulfillment through our virtues. When we desire less, we are free from the constant yearning for more, and we are liberated from the anxiety that comes with the pursuit of things that do not bring lasting joy. The Stoic approach to virtue is rooted in the belief that a life lived in accordance with reason is the best life. Reason, according to Stoic philosophy, is the guiding force of the universe, and by aligning ourselves with it, we live in harmony with the natural order. Virtue, then, is living in accordance with this rational order, making decisions that reflect wisdom, acting with courage in the face of adversity, treating others with justice, and practicing self-discipline in all things. When we live this way, we are living the good life, regardless of external circumstances. Consider the example of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, who, despite his immense power and wealth, never lost sight of the Stoic ideals of virtue. His life was marked by constant reflection, self-discipline, and the pursuit of wisdom. He understood that true greatness did not come from ruling an empire or acquiring riches, but from living in alignment with virtue. His writings and meditations offer a powerful reminder that even in the highest positions of power, a person's true measure is found not in their external achievements, but in their character and how they respond to the world. This understanding of virtue over external goods is liberating, for it shifts the focus from what we lack to what we can control. It frees us from the constant pursuit of things that cannot bring lasting peace and directs us toward the cultivation of qualities that endure. The pursuit of virtue allows us to live with integrity, to act with purpose, and to find fulfillment in the present moment, regardless of external circumstances. The Stoics also teach us the importance of detachment from external goods. This does not mean that we should avoid wealth or possessions, but rather that we should not become attached to them. We must learn to enjoy what we have without allowing it to define our happiness. When we place our happiness in things that are fleeting, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But when we place our happiness in virtue, we are anchored in something that cannot be taken from us. Our virtue becomes our true wealth, and it is something that no one can take away. Consider how often we fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others. We look at their wealth, their status, their possessions, and we feel inadequate. We forget that these external factors are not the true measure of a person's worth. The Stoic teaches us to focus on our own character and actions, to strive for excellence in the cultivation of virtue, and to release any attachment to what others may have. By doing so, we free ourselves from the burden of comparison and find peace in knowing that our worth is not determined by what we possess, but by who we are. In this way, the Stoic perspective encourages us to live a life of purpose, not a life of indulgence. It challenges us to find meaning and fulfillment not in what we acquire, but in the virtues we develop and the lives we touch. The pursuit of virtue is not about seeking approval from others or accumulating accolades. It is about living a life of integrity, doing what is right regardless of recognition or reward. When we live in this way, we experience a deep sense of inner peace, for we are no longer reliant on external validation to feel fulfilled. We are content with who we are, and we know that we are living in accordance with our highest principles. To cultivate virtue is to commit ourselves to personal growth. It is a lifelong journey, one that requires constant reflection, self-discipline, and a willingness to learn from our mistakes. The Stoics believe that virtue is a skill that can be developed and be strengthened over time. We do not need to be born virtuous, we must choose to be virtuous day by day, moment by moment. This requires effort, practice, and perseverance, but the rewards are immense. Through the pursuit of virtue, we build character, we cultivate resilience, and we find a deep sense of fulfillment that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. In conclusion, the pursuit of virtue over external goods is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy and the key to mastering inner peace. External possessions, status, and pleasures are fleeting and unreliable. True happiness and fulfillment come not from what we acquire, but from the cultivation of virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. By focusing on what is within our control, our character, and our actions, we free ourselves from the tyranny of external circumstances and find a still and lasting peace. The pursuit of virtue is the highest calling, and it is through this pursuit that we discover the true meaning of life and the path to inner tranquility. 6. The art of self-reflection and self-mastery. In the pursuit of inner peace, the Stoics understood that true wisdom is rooted in the continuous practice of self-reflection and self-mastery. To be at peace with oneself, we must first look inward, honestly and without bias, to examine our thoughts, actions, and beliefs. This practice of self-examination is not about judging ourselves harshly or indulging in self-criticism, but rather about understanding ourselves more deeply, recognizing our strengths and weaknesses, and actively working to align our actions with our highest principles. Self-reflection, in the Stoic sense, is the foundation of personal growth and self-improvement. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously taught that know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. This profound insight speaks to the power of self-awareness as the starting point for all personal development. To live a virtuous life, we must first understand our nature, our desires, our impulses, and our reasoning faculties. We must become aware of the thoughts that drive us, the patterns of behavior that shape our actions, and the biases that influence our judgments. Only then can we begin to practice self-mastery by consciously choosing to act in accordance with virtue rather than our impulses. Self-reflection is not merely about recognizing our flaws, but also about celebrating our strengths. It is about taking time each day to review our actions, to assess whether we have lived in alignment with our values, and to recognize where we have acted with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. The practice of reflection allows us to see where we have succeeded in living virtuously and where we have fallen short. It provides us with the opportunity to learn from both our successes and our failures, to grow and refine our character with each passing day. In the stillness of self-reflection, we come to understand the nature of our emotions. The Stoics taught that emotions are not inherently bad, but that they become disruptive when we allow them to control us. The goal of self-mastery is not to suppress our emotions, but to manage them with wisdom. For example, when we feel anger, we must ask ourselves whether the anger is justified, whether it is in accordance with reason, and whether it is a response that will lead to the greater good. If it is not, we have the power to let go of it. Similarly, when we feel fear, we must ask ourselves whether the fear is rational, whether it is rooted in something that we can control, or whether it is merely an illusion created by our minds. By cultivating self-awareness, we gain control over our emotions, allowing us to respond to them in a way that is consistent with our principles rather than being swept away by them. For example, when faced with temptation, the Stoic does not succumb to desire, but instead exercises self-control. If they are tempted by food, drink, or luxury, they remember that these things do not bring lasting happiness. They remind themselves that true peace comes not from indulgence, but from living a life of moderation, wisdom, and self-discipline. Similarly, when faced with anger or frustration, the Stoic does not react impulsively but chooses to respond with patience, understanding, and calm. Through the practice of self-mastery, the Stoic cultivates a sense of inner strength, knowing that they are not ruled by their impulses, but by their reason. Ultimately, the art of self-reflection and self-mastery is about living with intention. It is about choosing, moment by moment, to act in a way that aligns with our highest values. It is about cultivating the self-awareness to see our true selves without illusion or distortion, and the self-discipline to act in accordance with that vision. When we practice self-reflection and self-mastery, we take control of our own destiny. We are no longer passive recipients of life's circumstances, but active creators of our own peace and fulfillment. Through self-reflection, we become more attuned to our inner world, and through self-mastery, we shape our actions in a way that reflects our highest potential. The Stoic journey is not about perfection, but about progress, constant growth, constant learning, and constant striving to be the best version of ourselves. It is through this process that we achieve true peace, knowing that we are living in alignment with our deepest values and that our character is shaped by our own conscious choices rather than by the whims of fate or external circumstances.